Oh, that's not a good idea to do that. Okay, I don't need that. Oh, right. I could do that with this then, right? Yes, I can. Okay. Okay. This is what I want to do. Perfect. Yes. Awesome. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Well, morning for me. Good whatever time of day it is for you, wherever you happen to be watching. Um, so today I'm doing a little bit of modding. I was just quickly setting up because I need to provide the context that I am going to be modding under. So that's going to be relevant. All right, so let's see. What am I doing? Yes, that's okay. So, this is this here is the issue that was opened. DDD altering undefined armor pierces. DDD altering undefined armor pieces. When using an undefined piece of armor in DDD, it provides zero protection, which it is technically intended behavior. It says in the config that the default behavior for armor, if no armor distribution is given, is nothing. No protection. For those of you who are not familiar with this mod, what DDD does, distinct damage descriptions, not dire ducks, what it does is it um adds a lot of D&D 5e style combat mechanics, like damage types and resistances and stuff like that, to Minecraft. But Minecraft and D&D style stuff aren't exactly the same. And so there has to be some concessions made. And one of those concessions is, well, how does armor work? Because Minecraft has its own armor system that would be completely incompatible with the AC system of D&D. And so what I have done is armor has an effectiveness rating, which determines how effective it is against certain damage types. An armor with 50% effectiveness will only use half of its armor points against that particular damage type. So something with 50% bludgeoning effectiveness, if you take bludgeoning damage, only half of that armor piece's armor points will actually be used to defend against that damage that you're receiving. The default configuration for any armor that's not defined in the config, which you can add your own, but if you don't add it, or you forget to add it, or you choose to omit it, the default is 0% effectiveness across the board. And this user has opened an issue wondering if there's a possibility of having this instead work like shields do, weapons, or possibly having items fall back to their vanilla behavior and working for anything, basically. So, I believe the default configuration for shields is no effectiveness either. Shields also have an effectiveness rating which determines how much damage they block, and then that is direct, and then they basically subtract that damage, and then the rest goes into your armor. Um, and I believe the default for shields is no effectiveness across the board. Now, weapons need to have what's called a damage distribution. And damage distribution defines how that weapon's damage that it inflicts is distributed across damage types. Something with 50% bludgeoning and 50% slashing, like a wooden sword does 4 damage in normal vanilla. With 50% bludgeoning, 50% slashing, it'll do 2 bludgeoning and 2 slashing damage, because it gets split 50-50. The default weapon distribution is just straight bludgeoning, because weapons and items need to have a damage distribution. They need to have something that defines how their damage distributes. And they want to have a default armor distribution that's sort of similar to the weapon distribution, which makes sense. But it's a little different, because armor distributions are a little bit different than weapon distributions, because items need weapon distributions. Armors don't need armor distributions. And I think this is a very reasonable ask. I added later on that DDD does have its own default damage, armor, and shield distributions, and they're not configurable, because the idea is they're supposed to be the default config option. And so when my mic's a little loud. Hold up, I'm gonna turn it down. When they're inconfigurable and an item doesn't, they're used internally. It's the fallback, right? So what I'm going to do is make that fallback a little bit configurable by basically having multiple fallbacks that, I'm still really loud. Having multiple configurable fallbacks that that DDD can fall back on depending on what you set up in the config. So, and I want to do this, I want to extend it from what was said here to work for weapons, armor, and shields, right? I want to define default, like different default distribution behavior for all 3 of those, right? So how do I go about doing that? This should bring me back to Eclipse, right? No, it doesn't. Bring me back to Eclipse, dude. Oh. Is that what I need to do? That's so weird. Oh, is it because I have no idea? Whatever. I got it. I got it. So, what I'm gonna need to do is define default distribution. So first off, let's see what our original defaults are and how we can utilize that and sort of augment that, extend that for that issue. Somewhere here. Not there. I think it's here. Nope. Where did I put it? There should be a default distribution. I swore it would have been in the API. Oh no, it's in the capability. Duh. Default armor distribution, default damage distribution. Okay, so there's a default distribution, which is an abstract class that extends distribution and implements iDistribution. So it's a distribution. Distributions. This is the root. Armor distributions and damage distributions are distributions. And shield distributions are. This is just the root hierarchy that kind of. This is all the stuff that's common to all of them. And I've created a sort of branch off of that hierarchy for default distributions. And all this does for a default distribution is it doesn't allow serialization, so I can't save this distribution to the disk, which means if a mob uses this, it won't save. It can't be serialized. Right? And furthermore, it can't be deserialized either. So I can't save or read a default distribution because if it were somehow accidentally changed, then saving or reading it would change the default distributions for everything that used it, which is actually a problem that DDD has run into multiple times. This is me trying to nip that in the bud and make sure it doesn't happen again. And furthermore, they can't be altered. Their weights can't be altered. Because it's the default. It is defined to be a default. So what those weights are is dependent on what we have here. So the default damage distribution, as you can see, it takes the built-in bludgeoning damage type and gives it a weight of 1. So default damage distributions are just bludgeoning. And that's how that works. It can't be updated. It doesn't do anything on an update, and it just returns itself if I try to copy it because it is a singleton instance. By singleton, I mean there's only one copy of the default damage distribution that exists when the game is running. I can't have multiple copies of the same thing because there's no point. This is a little bit better for memory because I only need the one copy, and then I'm not constructing multiple copies on the fly. And furthermore, if changes happen to this default damage distribution, it'll be reflected in everything. Which sounds like a bad thing, but since default damage distributions aren't supposed to be changed, if something is able to change it, I would like to know so I can fix it. So, and we also have default armor distributions. And as you can see, it doesn't, unlike the default damage distribution, which has this here, which takes bludgeoning and maps it to 1, I have nothing, which means I'm not mapping anything. So I want to change the way that works. And I've thought a lot about how I want to do this. So I definitely need this, but I think what I need first and foremost is what I'm going to do is I'm going to deprecate this. So I'm saying that this isn't going to be used anymore. Because I think what I want to do is probably replace this. And things that use this are going to then throw warnings because it's deprecated. And I'm doing this so that other places in the code where this is being used, I have a little warning to know what I need to change. And now I'm gonna go here in the capability, not the implementation folder, but the actual capability, and I'm going to add an interface, default distribution, and it's going to extend distribution. So this is sort of the same thing, but I'm making it an interface instead of a class. And that's going to be a secret tool that's going to help us out later. So what I need to take is I need to take pretty much everything except for maybe the stuff from this and override it. I'm pretty sure. Or does this have it? Oh, it does. Yes. So what I'm doing here, the reason why I want these methods are something that Forge uses to determine whether an object actually has a capability, whether it's compatible with this capability, and allowing it to retrieve that capability from the object. Because this is not supposed to be saved to disk, I'm going to say that nothing has this capability. It is technically a capability, it can technically be given to things, but I'm going to say that nothing actually has it, and instead I'm going to kind of pick and choose when stuff uses this capability internally, but it's not actually going to be given that capability. So it's not actually going to have that data, because I don't want that data to be modified or saved to disk, because that's not what we want. So this is still basically going to work the same way. This is going to throw an unsupported operation exception, which is basically the same thing that we have here. Default distributions can't update weights. Oh, I need to throw a new one. Whoops, what am I doing? And this is going to be right here as well. Now, I am still basically referencing what's going on here. Update is not going to do anything. And copy is just going to return itself. Let me move this over. Copy is going to return itself, update's going to return itself. Return this, and the same thing here. Return this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I make this final? I don't think so. Legal modifier for the interface. Okay, yeah. I can't make it final. And serialize MBT. This is going to throw a new unsupported operation exception again. Not unknown object, unsupported operation exception. They have no NBT. So this part, the get weight, I probably actually can't. I can't implement these two because it has no way to reference that. Now, this is not going to be extended anymore. Oh, I can't do that either. This is one of the downfalls of using an interface, is that technically I could still override this again, but that would be nonsensical. So I'm okay with that as is. Now in here, this is where I'm going to define the default distributions. Yes. Because I don't have any sort of... Yeah, so there's going to be a bit of code duplication here, which is like a concession I'm willing to make. So instead, this is going to be default armor. Whoa. So this type already exists. Default armor distribution behavior. And this interface, I want it to extend default distribution. And I think I want to extend armor distribution. Maybe. So this still works the same. Now I just need to define how this works. And since it itself is an armor distribution, I can just use this. Instead of having... The alternative is I could have this enum be like the configuration option and then have it give me some default distribution to use, but I like it better if it itself is the default distribution and then just like use that directly wherever it is needed. So it still does need a map. So I do still need to define that, but I can define it similar to how it was defined. Whoops. Here. I can just use this. Oops. So now I need to define a constructor, default armor distribution, and this constructor needs a supplier. I'm basically defining here what the default value is. And this default value is going to be passed right into here. Wait, don't I have a... Can I have this? Oh, that's for that. Okay, yeah, I do like this then. This dot get type. So I had to define it as an interface here because enums cannot extend classes. So I can't inherit default behavior, but I can inherit default methods. Which is unfortunate. Wait, no, shouldn't the default value for this be the same? I don't need a supplier here. Well, actually, yeah, for this, that works. Because I can either map them all to 0, I can map them all to 1. Those are going to be my two options. So this is going to be no effectiveness, which is going to go like that, and then I'm going to have all effectiveness, which is going to go to this. Well, since it's no longer dependent on the type because I'm either mapping to 0 or to 1, I can just return dot get default value because it's always going to be this. It wouldn't make sense to define a default armor distribution that only worked for some types and not other types. That would be weird. Just add that into the config. So I can do that. I think depends on what I want to do with the types. I could have another one here. I should call this regular types. And this I'm going to have to actually add. I'm going to override get weight there. Define how this one's going to work in particular. This one, I should really add something here. Wait, isn't it in the API? Yeah, it is. Wait, no, it's in this. gonna add a little bit of that. Do I have a way of checking copy of equals? That's for sorting. Okay, yeah, the only way I could check it is through that. I should probably add a thing here. Then where are we? We're over here. I think I want something like this. Is it built in? Yeah, it is. Okay. So this will return. Show me. Or just specified array. The index of the search key. And points defined as the point at which the key would be inserted into the array. Oh, it needs to be greater than 0. If it's if it's greater than or equal to 0, no. If it's less than 0, then it's not found. I can have a better thing for this. Binary search. I'm gonna search internal types for does this have a special things for this? I should probably add it here. Pretty sure there shouldn't be any reason for incompatibility. It's DDD with immersive combat. To match made in heaven. Have I seen this mod before? I feel like I have, right? Let me look. 1.12 better combat. Have I seen this before? I've seen so many combat style mods, sometimes it's hard to tell if I've seen one before or not. Um, First person attack animations, idle breathing animations, entity aware, while positioning for hands swinging, a weapon slightly tilts the camera. New critical chance and critical damage system. Okay, that's something that I'm not too sure about. That's something I'd have to actually look at. Extensive config for editing attributes on weapons such as sound type, animation, hand properties, sweep, reach, knockback, critical chance, critical damage, and potion effects on hit. Again, just a critical thing. Shield bash ability to shields. Now, the shield bash ability, I'm not sure about as well. Adjustable damage, velocity, and draw speed. The bows should be fine because the bows are um DDD's damage is distributing the projectile's damage on hit, so as long as you define the projectile's damage, then it should be fine with bows. Weapons can be dual wielded and attacking has been added to the offhand. That I feel like definitely is going to be a problem. Configurable knockback, specific weapons to disable shields, that's fine. Attack width and height, damage and reach of unarmed attacks, that shouldn't be a problem. Curse of Gluttony, Webbing, Revitalize, Sorcery, and Lightning, and potion effects. Okay, so the critical chance and critical damage system, depending on how that's implemented, that could potentially be a problem, but I'm not expecting that to be a huge problem. If it's just like, okay, I just increase the damage initially, then provided that's done before DDD tries to analyze the damage and stuff, it should probably work out fine. Not expecting too much of an issue there, but it would be something I'd have to double check. Shield Bash, this depends entirely on how it does, how that works. Um, it makes sense that it would use the shield as the item involved for like the damage, almost as if you were attacking with the shield, which is fine. And then the dual wielding is 100% going to depend on how that's implemented, because the way DDD checks for distributions is it checks your main hand weapon, and it will distribute the damage based off your main hand weapon. So if you attack with an offhand weapon with a different damage distribution, it's going to use your main hand weapon for that distribution. If I have a diamond sword and a wooden sword, and my diamond sword's my offhand, if I attack with a diamond sword, it's going to distribute it as if it were a wooden sword, because I'm holding the wooden sword in my main hand. Because DDD doesn't expect to have to check the offhand for damage distributions. I test both models default settings, use specific stress testing on crits, offhand, shield bash. Absolutely. I think that's 100% a great idea. My predictions are shield bash might be a little wonky. Offhand weapons probably aren't going to work. Crits are probably fine. Um, Now this is definitely like the definitive combat. I agree. It's the definitive combat like mod. My goal is to make DDD the definitive combat system that could be compatible with definitive combat mods, but it really depends. Um, Again, I'm not expecting crits to be a problem, but shield bash and offhand might be a bit of an issue. Depending on how that's implemented, that could be a really easy addition to DDD if there's a problem. Um, but it really depends on how it works. So I can't say like right now if it would 100% work, but I'm not expecting it'll just work out of the box with no problems. So it's an internal type if it's greater or equals 0. Yeah, that's what I want to have there. Oh wait, I need to add documentation to this. Hold on. I need to add documentation to this stuff either. So this will just, so if I go over this and I click this, this just takes me to that, which is good. I still want to use DDD in Rebirth of the Night. Can I call, I feel like calling Rebirth of the Ninth, the abbreviation, just calling it Rotten is kind of funny. I still want to use DDD in Rebirth of the Night pretty much, but it's still far away. However, I want it to. We all love it that way. Okay, great, great, but it's still far away. However, I want to test that stuff so I can future-proof DDDs. I think 100% that's the right way to go because DDD's like it's a big change to that system, and I know that Rebirth of the Night has its own it has its own combat stuff. So trying to make sure that bring in DDD doesn't immediately shatter absolutely everything is a very very solid thing to check beforehand. So I respect that, right? I've been working a lot on making DDD really extendable by end users so that end users can tweak the way DDD works. And I did that a lot with Craft Tweaker integration and stuff. I added a whole bunch of Craft Tweaker script script options allowing end users to define how certain things are being categorized by DDD and really gave the end users the option to control a lot of how they want of a lot of what they want DDD to do, which should make it really flexible. But there are some things that it's just not necessarily going to be compatible with out of the box, and that's usually going to be like combat mods, right? As mentioned. This should be a capital A and R. Hold on, this isn't Python. We capitalize these. I know that Rotten recently got an update. Um, I didn't like check it out or anything. I haven't really. I've like very vaguely followed the development of it. I like see notifs every now and then. I'm like, oh, okay, they added this. Yeah, how's that development been going? I know that it's been a long time coming, right? The whole project, for sure. It's been years, literally. Okay, so now that I have this set up, I don't need this anymore. I don't need that. Now I can go back to this. I can check if... Now, if it's an internal type, then I return 0.0. Otherwise, I return this dot get, or this dot this. Can I not? Oh, I can just return super. Does that actually work? Is that gonna go here? It is gonna go there. Okay, nice. Okay, so this is going to be full effectiveness to literally everything. This is going to be no effectiveness to literally everything. This is only going to be effective to standard regular types. So internal types, which DDD has two of them, those being these two here, um, it will provide no effectiveness for that if for whatever reason that matters. So now the categories, I should have this be abstract. And now just put it here. This is going to return immutable set dot of. So it's going to return an empty set because it has no categories. This should return. It needs to return everything. Return DDD registries dot damage types dot get all. Yeah. Mutable set dot. Do I want a copy of it? I don't want to make a copy of it every single time, right? I guess I can. Yeah, because I can still construct this straight like this. Immutable set dot copy of. Now I can do this because now I'm only gonna do it once. I don't want to do it every single time when I get those types because that would be slow. Because this is defined to be compatible against every type, even though there's no map, really. Or even though the map doesn't have any keys. Because this map doesn't have any keys, it just returns the default value and stuff. But it is still technically compatible. It is does still work against all types. Now this needs to be everything except I know exactly how I want to set this up. This is gonna be beautiful. Private final set. Um registry is dot damage types dot get all dot stream it, filter out predicates dot not DDD damage type is internal type, filter it with that dot collect mutable set dot. It had a collector. What was the collector on it? Where's my source, dude? What happened? Where'd my source go? Ah, whatever. I'll deal with that later. Where are we? Over here. Oops. Uh, oops. I can't spell. Mutable set dot. Not builder. There should be a collector here that I can use. There we go. Thank you for finally giving me the rest of this. To immutable set. That's what I want. I want this. Thank you. Just gonna pop that over there. Wait, predicates is a class, though. I've used it. Predicates. Did I spell it wrong? No, it just... Okay, good. Let's make sure this makes sense. Let's stream it, filter it. I want to filter out consisting of elements of the stream that match a given predicate. I want to only have things that are not internal types, because that's not what it's effective against. And I feel like using this is probably a better checking if it's in there, since that array is 2 elements long, instead of checking to see if it's in this set. Might be a little bit better. Oops. And now I need to distribute the armor the exact same way sort of the default armor distribution did. Is that how the armor distribution worked? I distribute armor. It's literally the same thing. Okay. I'm gonna actually copy paste this. I know yesterday I was saying you don't copy and paste stuff. This makes sense. Oh wait, but this doesn't... It's undefined. Wait, why is it undefined? Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? It would be. Because I don't have this defined. Doesn't this have to define distribute? Nope. It was a method here that defined it. I see. I mean, this is actually easy. It doesn't need to be abstract, though. This just returns an empty armor map because there's nothing for it to do. So that's easy, right? And this is just empty armor values. Yep. Actually, this doesn't need to be abstract. Oh, wait. I have an idea. I'll still have the override for that. And then armor map. It's a DD base map. I can collect it. I can have a collector. I can collect it to this. I defined this. What's the best way I want to do this? Where are we? Over here. This dot get categories dot stream dot. Maybe I can do this. Just use this collector. Because that's what this does, right? Collectors dot to map. What if I defined collectors for this? I would just cast it though. There's no reason why I shouldn't. Because if it extends this, then it's compatible with the type. I just need to find a collector like this. Yeah, no, this is fine. We're good, we're good, we're good. It's all perfect. Just like categories dot stream dot collect base map dot types to DD base map. This is going to be armor values. And the value mapper is going to map each type. Can I just map it to null? Will that work? Damage types to map values. I need to map them all to the same thing. Oh, wait. hold on. This needs to be blank armor values as the default. And then this is going to map type to new armor values. Like that, right? Now, it complains because you're not compatible, right? Not compatible type? Yeah. I can cast you. Cast it. Brilliant. Easy. I default map to an empty armor values, otherwise I map its own categories to a full armor values. I don't care about the weight because there is no weight. Well, the weight is 1, so it's just going to be the armor and toughness. This makes sense. So I don't need this now. I don't need this now. But this is an intentional override. Because it's easier for that. And now, depending on what the config is, it'll just refer to this one, it'll refer to this one, or it'll refer to this one. But first things first, I should probably do the rest of them. Do I actually need this? Yeah, yeah, I do. In spite of the fact that it overrides from my default distribution. I mean, it's fine. Okay, so that's that. Where did I define you? I defined you here. So now I need to go here. Default shield distrib. Hello. Behave. Sorry, this is Canadian. Now, I definitely need the default distribution. Where, where's my default dish? Oh, it's with an I. Now, I don't think shield distribution has an interface. It doesn't. Shield distribution just goes straight in, which is interesting. What did I do for the default shield distribution? I extended shield distribution. Whereas for default armor distribution, I extended this. Yeah, so you do things differently. For some reason. So this is where I'm going to have to do the other way I wanted to do this. So this doesn't actually implement default distribution. This is just raw enum. However, it is going to have public abstract shield distribution, get shield distribution. Yeah, probably. Like this. Oh wait, what am I doing? This needs to be like this. Yeah, that's fine. So I just need that, and then this has to be a little bit different. This should be static. And then this extends distribution. This extends this. Did I spell it wrong? I did. And now here, I need to override. I basically do the same thing that was done here. However, I don't need a get instance thing, and I need to define that constructor differently. But everything else is the same. And this is, yeah, just default shield distribution. Super. I see. I think I know how I want to set this up. I'm going to use the map constructor. And then I actually want to define a constructor here that is going to take a map. And it's going to have this is no longer going to be abstract. I don't need it to be abstract. This. And it's going to take that. So now all I need to do is define right here the map. So this is going to be a can I define oh it needs to be a I mean I could just can I just do this? Yeah, I can. This technically works. Because this is going to just map everything to 0. It has no types, it has no anything. I also suffer from home. I'll be lurking. No problem, no problem. Hope everything's going well with your updates and your mod pack development. If I block this, this has categories, right? Yes, it does. But actually, no, that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Because if it doesn't have any categories, then it'll be empty. Brilliant. And I just have to define the exact same stuff. So this is going to be all effectiveness. This is going to be DDD registries dot damage types dot get all stream it. Collect. Hold on. Maps damage type to map values. I'll need to provide two arguments. I did. Float, no type, no type. Wait. Oh, wait. I know what's wrong. That needs to be a supplier. Oh my goodness. Throw that in there. Get rid of that. Put that to that. Do that. Alright, that works. And then I think I'm gonna set the same thing as whatever the other one was. Effective to regular types. And this is going to just do the same thing. My autocomplete's not working here, so I have to type this all out manually. Filter predicates not. Hmm. Does this even work? Let's see here. I need to. I know what I need to do. I need to add a little bit of a sanity check here. So I need this to not take... I can't set the weights. Can't do that. Not allowed to do that. I need to construct this right. My concern is that when this enum is constructed, I don't know if all the damage types are going to be registered yet. And so it might get me something, it might just give me something that's empty, which I don't want. It depends on when this is created. Um, Now the class is probably initialized the first time it is used, but do I want to rely on that? Instead, I could just have a static. This just doesn't need to be final. Actually, better yet, if this is null, create shield distribution. Otherwise, this dot dist. There we go. And now this is just an abstract thing. No, this is not abstract yet. I'm going to define this like this, and now this thing can be private. And now I return it here. There we go. I like this better, because now I know that it's going to exist. I might need to do a similar thing with the default armor one. No, I wouldn't, would I? I would be fine. Pretty sure I should be fine there. I'm gonna double check though. I want to make sure. And then there we go. So now I get that, and I use that to sort of create a singleton thing here, but it's created later on. Brilliant. That works. So now I don't need to actually worry about trying to like set it up or whatever. It'll set itself up when it is needed, if it is needed. That sounds like the right thing to do. Now, is this going to cause any problems? Because this takes a supplier to create that. But no, by the time this stuff is being called, all of that is fine. All of that will be created, so everything's good there. Okay, we have our default armor distribution. We have our default shield distribution. Do I have default resistances? I do have default resistances. I might want to define default resistances. Hmm. Where's my default shield distribution? Don't need this anymore. I don't need this anymore. This is technically not a big change. I'm just kind of making a big deal out of this change because it's giving me an opportunity to write this in a better way. But technically it's not that invasive, but it is requiring a bit of a rework. So I have default armor distribution behavior, I have default shield distribution behavior. Before I do damage distribution behavior, let's do default resistance behavior. Because I might be able to set some cool options up there. It just needs to implement IMOB resistances. I'll deal with that, I'll deal with that, I'll deal with that, I'll deal with that, I'll deal with that. Wait, no, default resistance. This should return... No, this doesn't return anything, this throws. Transport operation exception. Not throws, throw. And that does that. This returns that, this returns that, this returns that. And then unsupported operation exception. This is the same thing, but it can't be deserialized. I don't know what to do with all of that right now. This... Hello? Okay. So... Oh, wait. I need to also... Okay. So I've get get. Oh, but if I can't update the adaptive resistance, then yeah, this should never have adaptive resistance because that's going to change. I mean, you'd have to define the adaptability amount. Maybe I don't need to define this. This is even in the wrong spot anyway. The default resistances work fine. So that's not a problem. Alright, so now we're just gonna jump right into the default damage distribution behavior. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Oh wait, I forgot to add the implements stuff. Implements. I default distribution and I damage distribution. I think I need to do this. This is basically gonna work very similar to the way the armor distribution worked. I think we're gonna define those ones. So there are four options. Either it's gonna be all bludgeoning damage for default. It's gonna be all piercing, which is the default, which is that's gonna be the default for projectiles. I don't need all slashing because it, as far as I'm aware, it doesn't quite matter. There's normal, which is going to use the built-in normal damage type, um, which is sort of used for when DDD encounters a damage type, or sorry, when DDD is trying to categorize a damage type, and it could categorize it, but it just kind of came up empty-handed for some reason. Then it kind of the intent is that it would use normal. I don't know if it actually does anymore, but that was the intent when I added that type to the built-in types. And bypass will set the damage type to unknown, which is sort of if DDD is unable to classify a damage type, it will use unknown. The differences between these two are very almost non-existent right now, but I'm thinking that potentially in the future, this bypass, this unknown damage type, would just the way it would work is that things won't recognize that unknown damage type, or they won't respond or react to that unknown damage type mechanically, and so effectively things that deal this unknown damage just kind of skirt right over DDD's damage calculation, whereas normal could go through DDD's damage calculation. It will recognize that damage type and it will sort of respect that damage type and stuff like that, but it's kind of like the default damage type, sort of. That's sort of the roles that I want these types, that I'll want those types to have. Whether or not that actually ends up manifesting itself in any significant or impactful way is kind of here or there. But the idea is if you set the default damage distribution to bypass, it'll like bypass armor resistances and mob resistances, effectively giving you like true damage in a sense. Um, for the default distribution, sort of allowing it to fall back to the way it would work normally with vanilla. because although it will distribute the damage to the unknown type and it will go through the damage calculation, since nothing will have a resistance or immunity or any effectiveness against this unknown type, it literally bypasses every single thing. Um, which means it would bypass armor as well. So what I need to do is I need to change the way these work so that I can have them respond to the normal damage type, but not to the unknown damage type. So I could have it like this. I might need to find another one. Effective to almost all types. We'll call it allow bypass damage type. That's a little weird, but that's kind of the best way I can describe this. Use dot damage types dot get all stream it filter predicates dot not is unknown type dot collect And then filter it on this. Okay, this takes this. I make another constructor, which is just going to do always true. And then this needs to be this. Even though I'm setting this predicate to always true, I'm still going to have this override this so that I don't need to have the unnecessary call to filter here. And the default armor distribution behavior. What I did here, right, I need to define another one. Regular types allow bypass damage type. I think that's just what I'm going to call it. Oh wait, I can just negate. There you go. That's better. And this will return 0 if it's, oh sorry, if it's not unknown, it returns 0. If it's not that, it returns. If this is an internal type, it returns 0. This is effective to regular types, so it's not effective to those two. This should not be effective to those two. So it filters out everything. So it filters out if they are an internal type, then it's going to, this is going to return false because we negate it, and that filters it out. So this block map is going to contain everything except the internal types, which is effective to regular types. Okay, yes. This, if it's an internal type, we return 0. It's effective to regular types, otherwise we do that. Great. For an unknown type, we want everything except the unknown damage type. And then collect it. So that's going to be, if the unknown damage type is this, then that's going to work. And then meanwhile here, allow bypass damage type. Ah, that's right. These do need to be swapped. I knew that didn't feel right. If it's the unknown damage type, we don't have any effectiveness. If we do have the damage, if it's not the unknown type, then we do have effectiveness. Okay. That makes sense. Now I have this. Great. Now how do I define this? What I need to define is the type. So now this is going to be built in damage type bludgeoning. I need to caps that. Now because it won't, content assist won't help me out here, I kind of need to do this. Piercing. Oh, I already had caps lock on. Piercing. Normal. I'm just gonna set this to bludgeoning, piercing, normal bypass. Of this dot type. Okay. Brilliant. That's this, that's this, 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 this. I think that's literally all I need to do there. Because I already have everything else defined here and set up correctly for that. So all I need to do is define the type, and then we can get the weight. The category is just going to contain only the type, and we're only going to distribute that one type. And I'm just going to do it like this. No need to make it more complicated than that. That was remarkably easy. Then again, it's like this is one type, and like this is no types, all types, regular types, bypass type. And all this is set up so that this can just work. Okay. Now I'm gonna definitely have to fix that. But the idea is now I can just set these to be the different config options, and it'll just work. It'll just work. Where's my config? Config damage category. This is where we define mob damage, weapon-based damage. I'll have to change this to say it'll inflict the default mob damage. And then I have a thing for default mob damage and default item damage and default projectile damage. Alright, so this is going to be public default damage distribution behavior. Default mob damage equals default damage distribution behavior dot bludgeoning. Default damage distribution behavior default item damage default damage distribution behavior dot bludgeoning, and then I have default damage distribution behavior default projectile damage equals dot piercing. And I'll have to add a comment and stuff. And then I need to go to the resists default armor distribution behavior. What did I call it here? Default mob damage. Equals default armor distribution behavior dot no effectiveness. And I have default shield distribution behavior default shield distribution behavior dot no effectiveness. Does this even work correctly? One minus weight. Interesting. Why is the default 1 here? That implies if I come in with damage types that it doesn't block, like if I'm looking at just this, which is just this, 80 slashing, 50 piercing, 2 bludgeoning. If I come in with like 10 piercing and 10 fire, full damage compute if present. This does get categories. So it's gonna check full damage compute if present. It's gonna check see if that type is present. And it's gonna block it. The default shield distribution would work just by chance, because it's going to do 1 minus 0, which is 1. Wait, no. 1 minus 0 is 1. It clamps that between that, and so that damage. Why is this 1? I'm setting this to 0. It doesn't need to be 1. That makes no sense. It shouldn't have any effectiveness. It shouldn't have any effectiveness for values that it's not using. Block damage, that's that. Or return F. Which is not going to do anything. So yeah, that's fine. The default shield distribution behavior. The block map's going to be 0. It's going to return 0 for everything. Which is not going to change it. Yeah, this makes sense. Okay. Now I have to go to the registries and fix the distributions? No. The distributors. Oh, is it in the config? Is it here? Oh, I have to go way up. Or is that where I get the capability? Oh, wait, maybe it's in the API. It's like all over the place. Yes, this. Okay, well, deprecate that because I don't need that anymore. And then I just have to change this to return the correct default distribution. And then, like, the rest of the infrastructure remains the same. Hello, hello. So the infrastructure of everything else stays the same. It's just these parts that change, I believe. Oh, what is up in over here? Integration types. Ah, what does this override this from? I mean, I just need to change that. And it should still work for everything else. Okay, so what I need to do going forward is I need to fix all these warnings, these deprecation warnings. And then have and then add the comments in the config, and then tweak the comments in the config, wherever it is. Right here. I need to add comments for these options, and then tweak the comments for these options. I think that's about it that I need to do, and then we're good. Okay, that's pretty good. Hmm. Okay, so I think actually this is where I'm going to wrap it for today. I'm not done, but this is pretty good headway on it. Now it's just like I actually finished the main part of it. Now I just need to actually spend time to kind of connect everything together and then fundamentally make sure that it works. But I think for now I'm gonna wrap it here. Uh, I might work on this on Friday. Yeah, instead of doing more continuum on Friday, which is what my normal schedule is probably gonna be, I might continue working on this, and then just wrap it up. And if I finish that early, then I can hop in and do more continuum stuff. But for now, I think that's actually where I'm gonna cut it off here. So, thanks everyone for tuning in. Um, if you enjoyed watching this and seeing my brain, this is my brain. Um, then feel free to drop a follow. It helps out my channel, of course, and the more interaction you do with the channel, the better the channel grows, which means I can do this more consistently, more regularly, and more importantly, during time slots that might work better for you guys. So it's a win win all around. But for now, I'm going to cut it off here. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will be back tomorrow, not for this, but for some continuum. So, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day. Didn't understand any of the code, but cool and chill stuff. Yep, no problem, no problem. Um, have a good day, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.